Hey, welcome to Financial Friday. I'm Mr. Eric Watson, and I'd like to get you on and keep you on the road to financial freedom. All right, and what we're going to talk about today is an emergency fund, the need for an emergency fund. All right, a lot of people don't have ample money to get them through any type of financial crisis that they may come about. All right. 66% of people in the United States don't have $1,000 in emergency fund just in case they have some type of unexpected financial expense. All right. So we want to make sure that you're thinking about having that emergency fund. And the question is, what would you do if you personally had an emergency, something that came up that cost around $1,000, maybe a car repair, all right, maybe a household repair, maybe something broke in your home and you have to get it fixed. I was teaching a Financial Peace University class last night, and one of the individuals in the class talked about an incident where she woke up in the morning and the whole bottom floor of her home was flooded and the sewage had backed up into her home. And she had to take care of that. She had to make sure that all that was, that, you had to pay for the plumber, you had to pay for whoever had to come and pull up the steps where the pipes go under the house and all that good stuff. All that stuff costs money. And if you don't have an emergency fund to take care of those things, it can put you further and further in debt. All right. That's why you need an emergency fund. What would you do if you had such an emergency? All right. And that emergency fund needs to be liquid funds. All right. It needs to be something that's either in a bank account, a savings account, a money market account, or something like that that you can get at quickly. All right. You don't want your savings, you don't want your emergency fund money to be in some type of investment account. All right. Some people feel that money sitting idle is not working for them, so they need to put that money to work, and they choose to invest that money vice having an emergency fund. Now, just think, if you're in a scenario where you have an emergency, you need that emergency fund, you've invested that money, and the market is down. Well, now you have to pull your money out of your portfolio after you've already lost money in the market to pay for some type of emergency that comes up. All right. You don't want to invest that emergency fund. You want to make sure it's set aside and ready for you when you need it. It's kind of like an insurance policy. You pay your insurance month after month, right? You ensure that you pay that insurance because something may happen. Same thing with that emergency fund. You need to have it set aside just like an insurance policy, just in case something happens. All right. And, some people would say, well, if something happens, an emergency comes up, I'll just put it on a credit card. Well, now you're putting yourself further and further in debt. So if you have to put something on a credit card, that $1,000 emergency, now it's going to cost you more than the $1,000 that you initially owed, because that credit card is going to accrue interest. So you don't want to defer something like that to a credit card, because it costs you more and more. Another thing is, you want to make sure you have at least 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months of your monthly income in that account. All right. Just in case, 3 to 6 months. Here's why. What if you get furloughed from your job, for those that work in federal government? What happens if you get laid off from your job? What happens if you have some type of medical emergency and you can't go to work? The bills aren't going to stop coming. The bills are not going to stop. So what do? How do you pay those bills? How do you go about living day to day, maintaining your budget? Are you going to live off of credit cards and run up your debt and end up having to pay more money? If you have 3 to 6 months of your monthly income set aside, so if you make $5,000 per month net, you don't make sure you have at least $15,000 to $30,000 set aside in a bank account just in case. Just in case. Because you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. We're in a prime situation right now where the unemployment rate has shot up. So many people are out of work. And if those people out of work don't have some type of something to fall back on, that emergency fund, now they're dealing with mountains and mountains of debt because they have to find some way to pay the bills. So now they're taking out loans and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's bad and it might get worse. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You want to make sure that you have something to fall back on just in case. And the time that it happens is not the time to start thinking about it. You want to think ahead on these things. I mean, there have been enough historical examples for people to understand that, yep, folks do get furloughed. Folks do get laid off. And some folks do have medical emergencies that keep them from working day to day. But the bills never stop. So you have to make sure that you cover yourself with that emergency fund. And again, it's not something that you should invest. You want to make sure you have it ready and it's liquid and you can get to that money when you need to get to it. And it's not subject to fluctuations in the market. You want to make sure you have that savings. Trust me, when you have that emergency fund set aside, you'll have more money to play with after that. All right, but set that money aside and then invest future earnings to build that nest egg, but don't take away from your emergency fund at all. You might need it one day. All right, so I hope that helps someone out. I hope you all have that emergency fund set aside just in case. Start off with, say, $1,000. All right. Start off with $1,000, pay down all your debt, and then after your debt's paid down, then you get that 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months of your monthly income as that account just to fall back on. Because emergencies happen. All right. So don't be caught without your emergency fund. I hope that helps somebody, and I'm gone.